Good morning, everyone, and happy Sabbath to all of you. Welcome to New Jerusalem SDA Church in person. Thank you, Natalia, for a lovely song. Thank you so much to all of you who are joining us in Zoom or in person at 1209 Avenue P. We are good to go. Well, this morning I want to start a short series, maybe 2 or 3 sermons on a subject: how to keep devil out of your life. We're going to be talking about something very practical things in life, what we should know or what we should do in our life to keep it out of reach of Satan. And today will be the first part of it. Well, not every plan, not everything what Satan is planning is working out, right? This is why he has a lot of them. He has lots of plans for everyday life, but thanks God that not every plan of Satan works out. And over the past 2.5 years, we have witnessed that there is a war going on, the real spiritual war in the real day-to-day life. And we see that in various forms, how the spiritual war is being unfolded right before our eyes. Well, first, what we have encountered, that was the virus, a huge one. A big one because it took the whole planet at the same time. So every nation and every people had to face it. And the first year of virus and pandemic, then it came the pandemic, of course, right? After that, the whole world has been closed down. And the world did not take it very well, the pandemic, because you've seen that violence outburst almost in every country for a variety of reasons. And we had it so bad in America that there was a lot of issues. But during this pandemic time, we have discovered something. Satan, that was one of his plans, to keep everybody from the church. But God has opened church in every single house. And we moved from one building to thousands of buildings in New York and in America. So God has opened new doors for us. And new churches, numerous small communities, family-oriented church has been all over the world, and that was a blessing. But we have to admit that pandemic took some tolls. Not every Christian survived the pandemic, as I believe I mentioned to you the other day, that about 33% of Christians ceased to associate themselves with Christianity during the pandemic times. 33% of Christians lost the faith. But in their place came another people, different people. They filled the same spots. So pandemic actually woke a lot of people to the fact that God exists and we are living in the end times. And you've seen these people, right? They have changed the behavior, they have changed their life, and they come closer to God. But we know that pandemic also took a toll on everyone in the society, and violence outburst almost everywhere. And in America, at the end of the first year of the pandemic, on January 6th, there was even an attempt to overthrow the government. That's how badly it became by the end of the first year of pandemic. And then came the second year of pandemic. And it became even harder for another part of the world. And right at the end of the second year of pandemic, the war broke out in Europe. Russia invaded Ukraine. Outburst of anger and violence. And it correlates to the end of the second year of the pandemic. And we see that effect it has on people, right? It's not only in one country, it's everywhere. And Bible specifically said this. Revelation 12 and verse 12. But woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has gone down to you. He is filled with fury, because he knows that his time is sure. He knows it better than you, that his time is at the end. So, at this time, our faithfulness and loyalty to God will be and is being tested by the events in the world, by the opinions of the world, of the society, and our ability to recognize the signs of the coming of Jesus. And our desire to resist the devil, knowing that at very last days he is at his high in fury and attacks on people. So will you resist him at this very time? If you know that he is coming with a full force, what are you going to do about it? And this is our sermon for today. This is where we start our conversation in preparation for the days which we live in today. And I believe this is one of the crucial points in my spiritual life and in the history line of the planet. We need to recognize the time we're living in and act accordingly. So, today we'll speak on this broad subject, how to keep devil out of my life. And the first in this series will be, we'll look at one of the things, how we keep him out of my life, is knowing his plans, knowing his strategies, his plans, and his devices, and how he operates will do a lot of good for me. That's what we're going to focus on. And one of the things what I'm going to start our conversation is with a question which is on everybody's mind today. Why does God permit wars and violence in the world? Why does God tolerate it? A lot of people asking that, why God you're not stopping it right there? Well, world statistics says that most of our time as human beings, we lived in war. For the entire known history, let's go back, let's say 3,600 years of human history, which more or less could be documented, and we at least have some vague idea what was happening before that. We probably know just a little bit, but as the encyclopedia says, we do have some knowledge about the history of our planet for 3,500 years back. So we'll take a look at that. And this is what the Encyclopedia Britannica says, that 92% of time out of 3,500 years we spend in wars, and only 8% in peace. 268 years of peace out of 3,600. That is amazing. That tells something about us as people. And if we look at the American history, we see the same thing. Thanks God that our land was never occupied, but it doesn't mean that we did not participate in wars. And if you will look at the long list, go to the Wikipedia and you will look at the long list of wars that America participated in, you will be shocked. So out of, let's say that, well, in a month we're going to celebrate the Independence Day, or birthday of the country. But if you will, so we will have 246 years of a country as a nation together united. So out of 246 years, America has spent 228 years participating in various conflicts around the world. So our soldiers were on the ground somewhere else for various reasons. I'm not discussing the reasons, doesn't matter. So it means that only 7% of time, or as it says, only 17 years out of 246 we have spent without sending our soldiers and troops anywhere in the world. It's also amounts to only 7% of peace. Well, wars and conflicts, the most common on the planet Earth. Why? Because we as humans copy the behavior of Satan. As majority, as people, Satan works successfully through wars. That's one of the working strategies of Satan. He is a master in waging wars, and he started his career in waging wars right there in heaven. Book of Revelation, chapter 12, verses 7 and 8. Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. This is what has been from the beginning. The first thing what Satan has done, he waged a war. And since that time he knows that war works. This is the best thing what separates people, what creates blood on blood vengeance for generations, for thousands of years. This is the best strategy he uses in this world. So he pushes everyone to go into open or silent or cold war. It doesn't matter. You have to be in a state of war. And right from the beginning, Bible tells us the very first things what comes into our world, and the first time when the Bible mentioned enmity. That will be chapter 3, book of Genesis, verse 15 says, "And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offsprings and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." This is the first mention of the enmity. Spiritual war is going on. So Bible says, don't be mistaken. Satan has waged a war, and there was hybrid war, physical and spiritual. Physical because he was thrown out, because he had some allegiance on his side, a lot of other angels, and there was a spiritual war. So Bible says, look very carefully. You live in a time of the spiritual war, and how that spiritual war being translated in day-to-day life. The very next chapter 4, book of Genesis, tells us a story. Cain kills his brother Abel. Right there. This is the implication of the spiritual war. People will be killing each other. And look at that. Isn't it really strange? Only one family, just mommy and daddy, and two brothers. There is nobody else yet. And one kills the other. Right there. And one family. There was no external. There was no occupation. There was no soldiers coming and taking you. Just two brothers in the same family, one family, and one kills the other. This is to what the war in heaven, the spiritual war, comes to on every level, in families, in countries, in the world. So war and conflicts, it's consequences of sin. That's what you're supposed to see when you have sin in the world. That's the absolutely concrete consequence of sin. But what I find interesting that the Bible does not single out war as something unique and completely different from other manifestation of sins. That's the same thing God says. As feud, as disagreements, as hatred, as discord, as jealousy, as husband beating your wife, or wife beating your husband, whatever the consequences of sins, they are the same. Look at the Galatians chapter 5 verses 19 and 21, very famous words of the fruits of the spirit of Satan. And that's Paul says, the acts of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity, the debauchery, idolatry, the witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions and envy, drunkenness, orgies, and the like. The war which is going on in Ukraine today was born in the same hospital as drunkenness, as jealousy, as envy, as everything else. So you don't have to be under the spirit of Satan to go to war. You can just what? Just secretly hate your brother or sister, or do whatever from the list and the fruits, and you will be in the same place. Bible does not single out the war, and this is why we ask God, why you're not stopping it? And God says, I'm not stopping the consequences of war. The consequences of sin, they will be going on until the last day. God does not stop the consequences of my sins in my body. He says, you will live in a nature of sin until the very last day, when I will come, and then I will change you, and I will take away your sinful DNA, and I will replace it, all and every cells in your body. But until then, you will live with it, so you will know that you are under the occupation of Satan. And interesting that the very last day of the planet Earth is going to be also marked with violence. But first I will read to you a book of James, and James clearly and beautifully depicts where we get in it, where we get that anger and violence. What causes fights and quarrels amongst you? Don't they come from the desire that battle within you? You desire, but you do not have. So you kill. You covet, but you cannot get what you want, so you quarrel and fight. Just read this text again and again. This is the real cause for all our quarrels, because I want something and I don't get it, so I quarrel. Read it to yourself when you are in a state of quarreling with someone. You don't have because you do not ask God. When you ask, you do not receive because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures. You adulterous people, don't you know that friendship with the world means enmity against God? Therefore, anyone who chooses to be a friend with the world becomes an enemy to God. This is all the consequences of sinful nature and a sinful war, and it will be like that until the last day of the planet. And when the last day is marked by the war, Revelation 16:16 says, then they gathered the kings together to the place that in Hebrew is called Armageddon. The last day will be war, and all the consequences of it. So how, now we go into the subject of our study this morning, how to keep devil out of my life. And what we're going to do today is we will look at one verse in the Bible, just one verse and a couple of words. We need to know Satan's strategies and his plans and his devices and what he is preparing for us. Who is the one who knows Satan the best? I don't have to ask that. You know Jesus Christ. He knows him from the very beginning, from the first day of his creation. God, Christ, knows him the best. He knows what he's thinking. He knows what's going on in his heart. He knows what he does, and he knows behind which masks he is hiding. So the best way is to seek Jesus' opinion on that. And this is the verse we're going to focus this morning. Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 10. Open your Bibles. Read it. Mark your Bibles. If you want to write something Take a piece of paper and write it if you need something. So, John chapter 10, verse 10 says this: "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." Beautiful verses, and we've read them 1,000 times, right? I'm not exaggerating. If you've been in a church for 10 plus years, you know it by heart and you've read it 1,000 times. But again, let's look what Jesus Christ is saying here. Again, Jesus Christ is the one who knows devil better than anyone else. He knows him from the very moment of inception of the idea of having a Lucifer in heaven. So, the beginning of the life of Satan, where the Bible starts the narrative of talking about Satan. Satan, from the beginning, says Jesus, was a thief. From the very beginning, he was already a thief. And what he does, his first actions in heaven, he starts going after what God has, after his throne, after his angels, after his power, after his adoration, after his worship. So he wants to take it what God has. That is the first action of Satan. Satan was after what God has. Well, what Satan was after in his first day being thrown to the earth, he was after the possession of Adam, after his influence, after his relationship. So he does the same thing. He steals what does not belong to him, because we know that earth was given to Adam. But Satan what? He stole it from him right there. So the first action of Satan, he acts like a thief. He steals from Adam whatever was given to Adam. So he said, all right, I'm going to go for a lesser objective in my life. It didn't work out with God, so I'm going to go for a lesser. At least I will be able to take Adam and his possession and his dominions. So this is what Bible describes, how Bible describes Satan. He is a thief. An interesting word is used here. The Greek word is kleptos, and it means a thief, a bandit, a swindler, or con artist. Well, you already know what word we get in English from the word kleptos. We get a kleptomania from the same word. And you know what kleptomania is? It is a pathological and irresistible urge to steal. Something pathological and irresistible. Doesn't matter where you are, you need to take something. That's what kleptomania is all about. So, look what Jesus is saying about Satan. Jesus says, something is pathologically wrong with Satan. He wants to steal, always. That's his nature. Satan is a kleptomaniac, and he behaves like one. He steals whatever does not belong to him. He takes what is not his. That is his nature of kleptomaniac. And then God describes what Satan does in 3 words, and we'll look one after another. So the first word is, again, to steal. So he is a thief, kleptos, but what he does, he klepto. That's an active verb, active form of a word, kleptos, thief. Meaning active word, it's a verb. So, kleptos A klepto is to steal. So kleptomaniac has to behave like one. He has to steal. And Satan does it all the time, all the days of his life. Now, one more thing. A thief goes not after you. He doesn't really need you. Thief goes after what you have, right? So whatever you have, he wants it. He doesn't really care about you. It doesn't matter who you are, poor, rich, from this nation, from that nation, from this part of the city. It doesn't really matter for him. What matters is what you have. And if you have something, he will be going after what you have. So, a thief goes after you have. If you have your life, if you have your eternal life, he will be after that. You have your health, Satan will be taking it. You have children, he will be after them. You are in a relationship, he will be after your relationship. So whatever good you have in your life, Satan will be after it. And who you are, he doesn't care. He doesn't care if you have less. He will take the last from what you have. He doesn't care who you are and how you surviving or not. He will be taking what you have. And this is one characteristic of a thief. He doesn't care about you. He cares about your possessions, what you have. And this is what Satan is exactly doing with all of us. He takes what God gives us. And another thing, if he is after that, what it tells you, that what you have is valuable. Guard it, what was given to you by God. Don't trade it easily to him. And one more thing, what I want to mention concerning this word klepto. In Greek, interesting that in classical Greek, this word is used to describe a very specific thief. Pickpocket, a pocket picker. Very specific one. And you know that pocket pickers, they were always considered to be elite in a criminal world. Why? Because just think about it. To pull a wallet out of your pocket in a daylight, in front of your eyes, in front of everybody, you need to have such skills and sleight of hand and know the psychology of a person, so you will easily put your hand in a pocket of someone, pull it out, and in a way that you will not notice. You will notice that you have been robbed only when it is too late, when the thief is far away and you got home and said, oh my goodness, where's my pocket? And that's the master pickpocket. He knows what he does. He robs you in a way that you will not even recognize. And when you will get to the knowledge that you have been robbed, it is what? Too late. You can't get it back. You need to be an artist in that. And this is probably one of the reasons why we have that word, con artist. Right? Because it is really a crafty ability to do that. To rob you in a daylight so you will not even notice that you're being robbed. That's what pickpocket or pocket picker does. A thief. And this is what Satan is doing with our lives. He robs us in a daylight and we don't even know it. He robs us from peace And we recognize that we don't have peace when we quarrel, when it is too late. He takes away love, and we come to senses only when we hate someone. But it's already too late. He already stole our love. We recognize, and he steals our relationship. And when we do get to realize it, when we break up, but it's already too late. He is a master in stealing and robbing us in a way that we don't even realize that we don't have it until it is too late. When we discover that the grand master thief is at work, it is too late. He is such a master in stealing from people. And he does it every single day. So this is one of the ways why we are talking, one of the reasons and the ways how he deals with us and why we are talking about it. So you will know. You will know that you have to be on guard of what God gives you. Otherwise, he will steal and you will not even know. The second word and a description of what Satan is doing for us. Jesus describes it with the word to kill. And it's a Greek word tuo, which has nothing to do with what comes to our mind immediately when we hear the word kill. We have the images of horrible pictures of bloodshed, or wars, or enmity, or violence, or murder, or something like that. But that's not it. The real word, the Hebrew word behind it, is tuah, and it means a very religious word. It means a sacrifice. It means a slaughtering the lamb in the temple for ritual purposes. It's not a murder. It's a ritual killing of an animal. It's a temple word. It's like Hebrew or Christians would go to the temple and they would bring the sacrifice. And it also has the meaning of giving up something. Not always to kill, but sacrifice in a sense that I will give something valuable. So that's the word to. What does it mean in a sense of Satan? Jesus says that Satan goes religious. He wants a sacrifice for himself. He wants the worship directed to him. So Jesus says he will be asking for you to bring the sacrifice to him. Look at the book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 8. Is this a surprise for you? Of course not. You've read it 1,000 times. All inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, all whose names have not been written in the Lamb's book of life. This is what he is asking at the last days, that the worship will be brought to him. Now, follow the train thoughts of Jesus. He said, first, Satan is a thief. He will take from you in a way that you will not even notice and recognize all what is valuable to you, given to you by God, all what you have received, Satan will try to steal from you. So you will not even know about it until. But if something is left valuable in your life, if something he is not able to steal from you, then, Jesus says, he will start speaking to you religiously, and he will try to convince you to give it up. First, he blatantly goes and he tries to steal so you will not even recognize it. And that would be 95% of the population, and including the Christians as well. We don't even know when he robs us. But then, when he's not able to steal that small percentage of something, he will go religious to you and he says, hey brother, hey sister, you need to give it up. He will not come to you and says, you need to worship me. No. He will says, you will need to sacrifice that for a greater good. Not for my sake, for others. Give it up. If you want to live, in peace, who would not sacrifice anything for a peace today? I know a lot of people who would do that. Who would not sacrifice for the reason of the public safety? Of course. So he will come to you and he will say, for the greater good, you would need brother and sister to give it up. Consider this. It's not only you. That's not only you on a scales. That's 9 billion other people on the scales. You need to be mindful of them. And that's already a religious connotation behind his ideas. If Satan fails to steal something from your life, he will try to trick you in sacrificing it. And how he does it? Satan creates stressful situations in the world. How else he will trick you in sacrificing something? You need to have a stressful situation. Pandemic was one of the biggest and the first stressful points in our lives, right? Very stressful. War, which is going on right now in Europe, is a very stressful situation. What will be next? Who knows? But Satan is creative, and he creates for the world stressful situation, so you will give up your beliefs, your convictions, and your faith. And I'm telling that to you, and Jesus is telling that to you, so you will know what is going on today in the world. You will not be blind. You know that Satan is creating numerous stressful for the whole world simultaneously. So there will be no escape. You cannot go today to any other country and still you will be out of the reality of the world today. It's not possible. Whenever you go, you still will be faced with the same realities, the same stressful situations. And the reason for that, so you will give up the rest of your beliefs, your convictions, and your faith. Be mindful, know his plans, and know his strategies. And the last word on our list, Jesus mentioned, to destroy. And that word speaks for itself. It means exactly what it is: to kill, to eliminate, to destroy, to wipe you out. This is his final life, final destination where he wants to see everybody. He wants to see everybody destroyed. And this is what we know. Revelation chapter 13 verse 15 says, this is the third step that Satan is doing with the world. The second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refuse to worship the image to be killed. First, he is stealing. Second, he is convincing you to give up. Third, if you're still standing, he says, you will be killed. And this is his strategy. To still convince you to give up the sacrifice. If not, otherwise. Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 10. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. And I'll give you my paraphrase of this short verse with my own words. The thief wants to get all that is good in your life, all that you have received from God. In fact, he's a kleptomaniac, the pocket picker, is looking for every opportunity to get so deep into your pockets so he can rob you from everything that is valuable and dear to you. When he's finished with stealing all your spiritual possessions, he will take his plan to a next level. He will take his plan to a next level. He will be creating conditions and situations so dire and so horrible that you won't see any other way other than sacrifice what's left. He will put you at a dead end and he will say either this or this. If nothing stops him, he will make you bankrupt in all areas of your life. Make no mistake, his real aim and goal is to destroy you. That's what Jesus said about Satan and what he does. How to keep the devil out of your life. And today we're talking about the first step. Know his plans. Don't live life like nothing is happening. Don't put your head in the sand. You know the times. You know that he is in his high on fury, and because he knows that this is his last days. And he is actively engaging you on every single level of our lives. And as we say, who is forewarned is forearmed. And that's what Jesus is doing for the people of the last generations. He forewarns us. Remember, Jesus says numerous times, don't you remember I've told you this already? I have already said this. Remember. Who is forewarned is forearmed. And God gives us an inside knowledge into the plans and strategies of Satan. So use them. Be aware of them. Be on guard. Because he is coming after you. But Jesus says, finish on a good note. But I have come that you may have life. And have it to the full. I'm just the opposite of what Satan is doing with the world. I'm giving you just the opposite of him. And this word, to have it to the full, is interesting. It's a word which describes a natural event. When there is a lot of rain, it floods everywhere, and the rivers goes beyond the banks of the rivers and floods the area. God says, I will flood your life with goodness of myself. There is no boundaries for the glory of God, for his mercy, for his goodness. As we say, it overflows the banks of our lives. And this is what Jesus is doing to all of us today. He, whatever the sin and how amounts to, God says, don't mind it, because my level of blessings is much higher. It will overflow all the influence of Satan. This is why we started by stating that not every plan of Satan will succeed, will work out, because God's goodness overflow all what he is doing to you and to me. So, do not let devil steal from your life. Be mindful. He is stealing from you, hoping that you will not notice. But when you notice, you can stop the intruder right there. If you know that Satan is going after your marriage, after your relationship, you can stop him right there. If you know that he's going after precious things which God gave you, you can stop him right there. In him, by overflowing of his blessings. That is the power which we have. Claim it in your life. When Satan is attacking you, claim this promise of John 10:10. Please God, overflow my life with your mercies and with your blessings. So it will not only counteract what Satan is doing, but it will cover completely. So I will not even care for what he is trying to do to my life. God bless you. Know what he is doing, what he's trying to do in your life, and be on guard and fill your life with the rivers of blessings and mercy of Jesus Christ, and let God be with you always. Amen.